Hello, everyone. Welcome back after a very long break. Apologies for that. I had COVID, which was lovely. Liam had a holiday,
Which
is
was
better.
lovely.
But we're back, and we figured we'd give you a nice special in the room one. Look, I can touch him.
Oh
Wow.
We haven't done this since Utopia.
God, that's been a while, isn't it? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
that was a long time ago.
Yes, this is Shouting into the Void, where we watch Doctor Who episodes that we've already seen, mainly from New Who, so that's 2005 onwards. We are now at Series 5, Episode 9, Cold Blood. It is the second part of the second two-parter of Series 5, that's correct, isn't it?
We are sorry for leaving you on the cliffhanger.
Yes, after we said we won't leave you on the cliffhanger, we've left you on the cliffhanger.
COVID.
The cliffhanger that it was.
Yeah.
Yes, so where we've left is, oh God, how did we leave the cliffhanger? It's so bad, I can't remember.
It's just a city.
We found a city.
It was so bad, it wasn't even in the previously section.
God, no. See, it wasn't the best cliffhanger.
No.
Our characters found a city, some were captured by the Silurians, and some had captured a Silurian. That's about it, really, isn't it? That's where we were.
Yeah.
So
Amy's about to be dissected.
Oh yes, that's that. I guess that's the most threatening.
That's what they should have ended it on.
Dissection.
Yeah.
But yes, what did you think of this second episode of episode
9? I enjoyed it very much.
Very
nice.
I
liked the first part anyway, but I do think this one is slightly more enjoyable. I think there's more.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
But that's kind of part 2's for you. Part 1 is kind of the setup, so it makes sense. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's not without flaws, as most episodes of Doctor Who are, apart from Doctor's Wife.
Maybe the next week's episode. Maybe.
That's true. But anyway, that's not Coldplay's fault. That's not Vincent the Doctor.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate it comes right before that one. It's always like, it's the next one. Same with poor Nightmare in Silver. I might just get to Never Doctor. But anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed how the storyline continued. I liked how, I'll talk about some specifics, but some like the character usage, I guess, and just the whole resolution with the Silurians, I thought was well done. Quite the final 10 minutes.
Yes, that was very dramatic. Really took a turn.
Really amped up. That's definitely the story ended about 36 minutes in to this 45-minute episode, and then boom, death, cracks, crack.
What's going on?
And yeah, Rory got sucked into a crack.
He died first, then he got sucked into a crack.
That's true. I suppose that's kinda. I wouldn't want to be sucked into a crack alive.
Yeah, I guess it. I don't know.
We didn't see it.
Don't know what it feels like.
It just happened off screen to them. The angel one, but
all the tentacle things coming at you and grabbing you.
But yeah, very dramatic pacing with that at the end. Good performances all around. So yeah, I do think some of the character stuff doesn't quite land for me, and I do have some kind of issues, I think, with the last 10 minutes ish. But overall, I think it is a solid conclusion to a solid story. I enjoyed it just as much, maybe a little bit more than the first part.
Fair enough. Well, I obviously didn't enjoy the first. Well, I mean, I liked the first one, but I didn't enjoy it as much as you know. There were some issues. I think some of those issues just sort of carry on into this one, although I did prefer this one more. I think, as you mentioned, there is a lot more that happens in this one. I think it feels like it's properly got going, which is a shame. Which, I mean, you could argue that maybe this should have just been a long episode rather than a two-parter. You could get that feeling. If the first one's 45 and this one, effectively, if you take out the 10 minutes, is only half an hour long, you could trim it down and have 1 hour long episode. But it is what it is. But there are a few things that I quite liked. There are a couple of sort of nitpicky bits that I've got in my negatives that are a bit like, hang on a minute, but
yeah,
that's gonna happen from time to time. I feel very bad that it's a Chibnall episode because I like Chibnall's show running and I like most of his episodes in it, but whenever we come to a Chibnall episode so far, I seem to have disliked them. 42 obviously before this one, then it was last time, and now this one it's kind of.
Has he written any others? Is it just 42?
I think it's just so far it's just 42 in this one, and then he writes
Dinosaurs.
Is it Night Terror? No, Gaia is right. Night Terror. Dinosaurs in the Spaceships
and
one.
Power 3.
So we'll see how they go.
He takes over.
Maybe because they need to in Broadchurch, isn't he? That's true. But yeah, I mean, I like Dinosaurs in the Spaceship from what I can remember. Power of Three maybe not so much, but that's
Power of Three is good until the ending. But that wasn't even. That was the actor's fault, wasn't it?
Yeah. So. But that's we've got a whole series and a half between.
That's just about to lose Amy and Rory in levels, and their story still basically.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we've lost one of them in this one. So.
Yeah, forever.
He's always gone. He's not
forever.
coming back. But enough waffle. We will get into our positives. We always have 3 positives and 3 negatives. We try and stick to that, but often we have more, just because we have no self-control. Oh, you do have self-control.
I do.
I don't.
But I also think that just kind of speaks to the it's just how
it is. Yeah. Fair. I'll kick us off then. I thought Matt Smith / the Doctor was pretty good in this.
Yes.
I think when they were captured at the start, which first of all that should have been the cliffhanger, them getting gassed and captured. That should have been the cliffhanger, because that happens like straight away. They're like, oh, let's go, and then they get got.
I wonder if they just had some issues in the editing room or something with this.
Maybe. I don't know.
Some fun facts would suggest so.
Because it sounds like they've only got the 2 dissection pods, and they needed Amy and the guy to escape to put them 2 in, and then they couldn't do that before the cliff. So yeah, but yeah, I thought there was a couple of bits in there where I was like, oh, that delivery is a little bit funny at the start. But
they even addressed that those 2 escaped when they brought them in.
Yeah, they were like, oh, you've let them escape.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I thought he was really good, especially towards the end. When he's trying to sort of galvanize the humans and Silurians to work together. And when he's like telling Amy, look, you need to remember this man, you just keep him in your head, and then a convenient explosion does away with all of it.
Yeah, just have the drill explode then, and
right. I know. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
Hindsight's 2020. Sorry to bring up 2020.
Yeah, which this episode is set in 2020.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
And But I thought he was really good in this one. I don't know where it came in his schedule, because right at the start I was like, oh, did he film this one first? Because there was
all I know is they filmed the vampire one after this. Okay. They filmed that straight after.
But I mean, it was like a very small thing. I think it was probably more the line than the line delivery. I think it was quite tricky to do. It is when he was like, I can't remember the line himself, but he was strapped to his dissection chair and he was telling something that just felt a bit off. But other than that, he was solid throughout. I think he was really good, and obviously he's. We've got Amy bits and Rory bits, but he's very much the linchpin, I think, for the episode that it revolves around.
Yeah, he can.
He links them all together, really.
Yeah, just he'd be my bonus positive, I guess, but he's always my bonus positive. It's kind of a given. That's just something to bear in mind with this era, I guess. He's obviously being positive, so I tend to not always make him one of my 3 because it's just smart. Yeah, the obvious one.
I mean, I think for me. Yeah, naturally, as with every Doctor Who episode, the Doctor is normally always the best part. But I like to put them in the positive when I feel that they've stood out.
Yeah, that's when I do.
Which I think he did in this one. Yeah. For me, at least. So, what is your first positive?
The balance of characters.
Interesting. Yeah.
I actually, it doesn't mean I liked what they did with all the characters, but I think this is Chibnall at his most balanced. I feel like every single character got a decent moment in this one. I feel like they all had a decent amount of screen time each, even like the villains that were introduced in this one with Restak. I feel like they spent a decent enough time on all of them. Maybe, and again, I don't want to jump on the Chibnall bad train, because that's not the case at all, and people are wrong who say that. But I do feel like he just has more. People are controlling him and reading him in a bit with this. In terms of how many characters he throws in. But we get a bit more with Mo, because him and Amy are kind of exploring a bit.
Oh yeah, Mo.
That's one that I always remember the episode.
Mo. Dead cut to something else.
I think it's really hard to deliver a line of that well when the name's so short. Because how else can
it's not like you go, Amy, it's Mo.
You can't do anything. Yeah. That's it. I really like that. Speaking of characters like that. But yeah, I thought they all got a decent moment to shine, for better or worse at times. Ambrose and and yeah, I don't feel like particularly any character was left behind. Maybe with the exception of Elliot, I feel like he just kind of flowing. But he's a child. And he got some decent moments in the last episode, which I talked about as well. So yeah, I do think all the characters in this one were treated well enough. I liked Eldane, the absolute sassy Silurian that he is. I liked Malekith as well, the scientist guy. He kind of bleeds into my main issue, I think, with the episode, which we'll talk about later on. But yeah, I do think every single character had some decent moments, and I think the performance is really good. Like you said, Matt Smith is great. Arthur Darvill was really good, and that death scene still kind of hits me, even though I'm like, you come back in like 3 episodes, and you keep dying. But I think it still works. I think Karen Gillan's really great in that moment as well. All of that, and I know she said she really struggled with that scene to like kind of get that right, and I think she did a good job with that. And yeah, I think character-wise, performance-wise, is a really strong showing, particularly with this episode, and the Silurians and everything's done really well. So yeah, I like that. I didn't really feel cheated by screen time for anyone. I think we've got enough of the ones that I'm like, okay, we don't need any more of you, and I'm not too sad about the ones that maybe were left on the left.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think you can tell that they might have had to trim it back a bit because obviously the Silurian dies almost right.
Yeah, there are a lot of deleted scenes.
Oh well, there you go then. But sort of my one, I guess, kind of ties into something you mentioned, which is my second positive, Rory's death.
Yes.
Really liked it. Didn't like the fact that he died, but I liked the scene. The heartbreaking "I'm sorry" when he apologizes. I was like, oh god.
We were on the hill.
Yeah, I was like, oh god, that's horrible. And it says a whole lot about Amy Moore's relationship and all that kind of thing.
That is a detail I really liked. Is that Amy very rarely like doctor in this one. She was always like Rory. Yeah. I really like that. Like it shows a shift.
And I mean, even Rory went back for Amy, and if Amy could remember what happened, she would probably blame herself for the death because she'd gone back to the doctor, and Rory was going back for her.
Yeah,
and that's
so
how
he was then with them when Restank showed up.
Yeah, so I think it's a heartbreaking death. I think knowing where it goes and where it comes back, I think it still works. It's not like a Donna Noble situation where she has the sort of get out clause of that thing where it explodes. I think this one, although he's dead but he comes back, I think it still works in this moment. I think mainly to probably motivate the Doctor a bit more.
Yeah, and even when he comes back, spoilers, he's an Auton, so there might be consequences.
That's true, yeah. Although I don't think it's necessarily addressed if Amy remembers. I mean, she remembers, but we'll see when it comes to the finale how it works because I can't remember.
Yeah.
But obviously he's not dead. He's not dead, but there's all sorts of asterisks you could put alongside it.
Yeah.
But just this whole death scene, and obviously we mentioned the Doctor and Amy having that conversation, keep him in your thoughts, remembering.
Yeah.
And there's a little hint with the rings still sort of being there that something's not quite right here. Something's still changed.
Yeah.
I do have sort of an issue with sort of how he gets absorbed in the crack, but it's a nitpick that we'll come on to later on.
Absorbed in the crack.
There's no way you can say it.
No, there's no
swallowed
good way,
by
really.
The crack.
I mean, there's just no good way.
Eaten by the crack.
There's just no good way.
Stop. When he was got by the light,
yes.
Crack light.
And he saw the light in the crack.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, I think it was very good. I think Arthur Darvill did a great job in it. And considering he's only been around for 3-ish episodes as a main character at this point, I think it does a good job of setting him as a companion that has been lost, and obviously you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was very good. So what's your second?
Well, it kind of ties into what you just said. So this is my third, but I kind of just put like the bombshell of the ending, really. So it kind of kicks off with Rory dying, being absorbed and forgotten and everything.
Yeah.
And then I just love that final shot when he's holding up what he's going out of the crack. And it's a bit of the TARDIS. I lost my shit when that first. That's like,
what?
That's interesting. So obviously that's a big tease and a setup for the finale. And yeah, I think that's a very intriguing kind of element. And I don't want to be like, oh, it's a positive, it's the cliffhanger ending.
Yeah.
Because there is an episode before it as well. But I do think it is kind of a hell of a way to end things off. Not just because it's like, oh, we're leading into the next episode with this cliffhanger, let's set up that. It's kind of a cliffhanger for like the show as a whole and for the Doctor as a character.
Yeah.
In a way that kind of really sticks. And, I mean, quite literally packs a punch because it fucking explodes ultimately. But I really like that reveal because it gives you an answer, but also so many more questions. You're like, okay, but why is that in there? What does that mean? So I do like that it feels like progress has been made with the arc, but also, you're still basically you have no idea. So right from the off, basically just the final 10 minutes is kind of a positive, really. Not that I enjoy Rory dying, but from that point onwards, it really, really gets going. And again, I feel bad because that's clearly not the bit that Chibnall would have storylined out. But dinosaurs on the spaceship's good. I think
that we remember,
and he's a good showrunner, I'd say. But yeah, it's dinosaurs.
We've already had that with 42. Another Chibnall episode. So
42 is still my biggest disappointment. I think revisiting an episode.
I think your point's fair. I think what Moffat does really well with his show running is that obviously Russell was very much subtle in the background, little references to the story arc, and then just here it all is in the finale,
series by series arc. Whereas this is like
I do appreciate that Moffat sort of going, hey, look, there is a bigger storyline. Maybe it's because he had a feeling these episodes might not be that interesting to keep people, so he was like, he has to throw something. There's all kinds of potentially.
I also think with this one, I think the cracks in time were a big thing in the Weeping Angel one. I bet they probably knew people are going to tune in for the Weeping Angels coming back. This might also get them sucked into the main arc. Oh, the Silurians are back for the first time in 30 years. People who love the classic series are like, oh, the Silurians are in it this week, I'll watch that. And then maybe try and suck them in again with that. I think that there must be something like that.
But they're also both two-parters as well. And so they might be the two landmarks where you're right, we're going to pin these in.
So it's kind of like, because obviously like a third of the way through the series, 2/3 of the way through, like just reminding you of that. So maybe that's at play as well. I wouldn't be surprised because I think that makes a lot of sense. But again, who knows?
Either way, I think it's a very cool. I think the way the story arc's been done so far, the series has worked really well. And it hasn't been overdone necessarily. I think other than the Vampires in Venice, what's that sound? That's the only one I think I've had an issue with.
I do kind of have an issue with it, which we'll go into in this one, but I think it's more so in comparison to how it's been done in previous episodes of the series. But we'll talk about that.
Fair enough. My sort of final positive then is the Silurians. I think they were my positive sort of last week as well. Obviously, their design is still great. I like the different sort of variations we get on Rastak's got like a scar on her eye, which I don't think I'd actually noticed before because it's played by the same actress that's died, which is very convenient. Which I like. Oh, we've only got 3 actors.
Oh, they're from the same batch.
I like the mayor. That's probably the best way. The leader, the guy that's in charge.
Yeah, the elder.
I always think of him as a mayor because he's got like those nice flowing robes and stuff. And
I love his voice.
And then the scientist guy as well. Those 3 individual Silurians, which unfortunately I can never remember the names. Most of them were only in there for this one episode.
Yeah.
So
Aldane, Malekith,
and then Cannon Fodder. The other ones.
And the others.
The ones that didn't need the face paint, just had the mask on. I think they're all great in this. It does a good job of sort of showing the sort of society as a whole, I think. Although it was a stupid decision just to be like, go play soldiers and just like dismiss her when you know how pissed she is.
I know you've just woken up, but think it through, Aldane.
I think just letting her go off and do her own thing and not checking in was probably a mistake. But I do appreciate sort of all of it. I like the sort of just how it looks. The city as a whole looks great when they show it, especially through like the glass ceiling. The whole bit where they're trying to work out how they're going to share the Earth, which obviously would never happen, especially in 2020. Imagine if in 2020, on top of the pandemic and everything else going on, they're like, oh yeah, lizard people exist and they're
lizard lives matter.
So that's the struggle. But I did really like them. I think there's potential there for them to revisit this group because they didn't die. I don't think.
Yeah, only one of them died.
Well, that's it. No, two. Rastak and the scientist.
Oh, I've tried to block that one because it's sad.
Because they're like, oh, I'm the mayor, but I can also do science, so I can help save you.
Yes. We didn't need Malekith.
Exactly. I think they're really good. I think there's a nice contrast between all 3 of them, which is quite useful. And obviously the flicky tongue thing when they try and get the doctor as he runs out is great, as always. I just really like them. Really like the weapon design as well. I think that's really cool. And yeah, there was no terrible POV shots this week either.
That's true.
Which is yay for no POV shots.
It's always a good thing. It's like one of those things, isn't it? Like once a character's taken off their mask, like Kylo Ren, and then just suddenly just stop wearing it.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the film and stuff. And once you've revealed what the visiony thing is, then it's just you don't.
Which I think is in this episode's benefit, because it gets to focus them more on the Silurians and how they've been, how they've come to be awakened and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think is good. So yeah, what's your final, like your second / final positive?
Yes. Second / final. I like that it kind of showed the best and the worst of the people in this situation.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think it would have been the easier choice to be like, yes, there is hope for us all after all, and not have a character like Ambrose in it.
Yeah.
What the fuck she did. It also would have been very easy, like it just goes instantly wrong, and they don't agree about anything, which to be honest is probably the more realistic version, because we all suck. But
especially in 2020.
Especially with everything that's happened in the past couple of years. But I do like that there is at least an attempt of showing, like, some people would be for this, some people really wouldn't, and it's probably not going to work out, at least not yet. I really like the Doctor's, well, I think it's Eldane and the Doctor kind of say it, and Eldane's like, you know, when the world's not ready for us to return to the surface.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's like, no, but it probably should be. I think that's very true, because, you know, we just need all the old white people to die. So yeah, I do like that there's a balance to it, and it's not entirely hopeful. Obviously, I think they do lean more into the hope at the end, which is probably, you know, kids watching this, I think it's probably the best.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to burn yet, kids. Don't worry.
You're going to be around for 1,000 more years.
Yeah,
maybe.
Your grandchildren will burn, but you won't. Don't worry. But yeah, it's also not just entirely bleak. But yeah, I do like the balance in how the story resolves. It's kind of, with a Silurian story, it's the only way really to do it, because they're not going to commit to.
You either blow them up or you have them go back to sleep.
It's easy to be like, well, the Zygons can be integrated because they can just look like humans, so you can just feasibly have that happen.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have Silurians walking around in every episode set on Earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do like how they handled that kind of dynamic, and you know, the politics of it all, if you will, I think was particularly well handled. I did like how there may be a promise of one day maybe this is something that we can work out, but certainly not right now. It would have been unrealistic, I think, if they had worked it out. So again,
I think they didn't want the Eternals problem of there's now a giant head sticking out of the Earth's crust that is no longer mentioned in the MCU, despite it only just happening. It's like, you know, if you have something that big happen, like with Silurians now existing, sure, you could say, look, we're going to give you this island in the middle of nowhere, stay there, see you later, maybe, but that's not going to happen.
But then you'd have, because they like promise new technology and stuff, you'd have to just have that kind of
and I mean, that sort of goes on to sort of one of my additional positives is, you know, the potential for the future of this. You know, you could set an episode in 1,000 years' time where they've come up and they've, you know, joined the human race and there's all life or whatever. You can have all sorts that happen there, similar to what they do with the Zygons after the 50th. With Capaldi, where they sort of go back and visit sort of the issues going on there.
Yeah, they give it enough time to kind of for it to be like an issue and stuff.
Yeah,
like Zygons starting to like show themselves a bit.
Yeah, which I think works well. And I think they could have done that one. And then my other sort of positive one is obviously that TARDIS tease I've put of the future, which is interesting, and I can't wait to get there in only 3 episodes' time, hasn't it? Vincent, Lodger, and then Padorica. Yeah. Fun times. Have you got any other additional positives?
I would just agree with Matt Smith, really. But I also thought Karen Gillan was very good, particularly in the final scene. You know, I do like talking about the balance of characters and stuff. I do feel like Amy got a decent chunk to do in this one, given that she wasn't really in the last one that much.
That's fair. Yeah, even though she was nice and doesn't run away. I know her hands are bound, but come on, just run away. But yeah, on to the negatives now. I'll kick off with my one, which I think is similar to last week. Ambrose. Like I messaged you when I was watching it. I was like, I get killing the Silurian. Like if that was me in that situation, I was being provoked like that. You're probably going to have the same reaction. I think that's fair. But she doubles down and then she triples down. I'm like,
she refused to learn a lesson.
Stop. I don't think she learned. she gets a talking to right at the end, I think. But even then, that's not.
And even then, I feel like she gets off so lightly. I hate that they were like
She's lost her
smiling at each
dad,
other at the end. I'm like, no, you should hate that bitch.
She has her husband back. Her dad's short. Her dad's gone.
That is the one thing I like, that she does have a consequence to what she did. Is that she kind of loses her dad in a way. I'm glad. It feels awful to say. I'm glad something bad happened to her.
Even though,
in that way.
Yeah, but I think she doubles down with being like, "Oh, we're gonna kill you all." I'm like, stop it, stop speaking to them.
It's already too late.
Stop it.
Got the drill going. This is our planet.
Yeah.
She would have voted Trump.
Well, yeah, she would have voted Brexit.
She definitely voted Brexit.
But it's like, even when like they're talking over the thing, and the doctor's like, "Look, let Rory handle this." She's like, "No, these are terrible." I'm like, "Oh, shut up! Because she killed the one, and then she's almost remorseful.
Yeah.
But then as soon as they come on camera, she's immediately flipping the other way again. I'm like, I mean, I know that her husband's there, and it's like, oh, whatever. But it's just, I think she's too pantomime villain. She's too set that way, which I think is a little bit unrealistic.
Yes, but especially when she has a family involved.
Yeah.
So I do think that's kind of an issue that I take up with later.
Yeah, especially because the whole point is you wouldn't. I know that you've been provoked, but if you know that's the only chance of you getting, because she even has that when they send the 4 discs up. There's even that moment she's like, "Oh, we made a mistake," and then she's like, "Let's go and start the drill," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
what? That flip flopping doesn't."
It's very much her character serves what the plot requires of her at times, and I don't think it's that consistent.
No, and as you mentioned, she just gets off pretty lightly. I mean, her husband is unemployed, so they're gonna have to find new jobs. But
that's true.
But other than that, there's not really much. There's no consequence really for what she did, because it's not as if her dad's dead either. He's just going to be asleep for 1,000 years, but he's not effectively gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sort of my main negative, because I just think you do have to have the character that can be the villain. Look at General Corbin, Doctor Store. He doesn't flip flop. He is that generic villain, but he never goes, "Oh, we shouldn't be killing the half. Let's kill the half."
Yeah, he's too far gone.
He's very much that, which I think Ambrose needed to stick to one or the other side.
Yeah, they hinted too much at her, like maybe being a bit redeemed and having a redemption, to then just not do it.
Yeah. I don't even know how you'd redeem her from killing one of the Cybermen. I don't know what. Yeah. I don't know how you would come back from that, not killing someone else. Helping. Yeah. I don't know what the situation is. Sacrificing herself, I guess, is the obvious.
Yeah.
Is the obvious one. And then,
helping one into a pod they can't get open.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe that was another issue I have, but either way, not the best. I don't think. So what's your first negative?
There's a lot of odd character moments, I think, for me, that didn't quite feel right.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be like dialogue or actual like motivations and stuff. And again, maybe a lot of scenes were cut and trimmed around that, so it doesn't quite work. Or maybe it's just kind of an Ambrose-esque situation where it kind of flip-flops a bit. But it's like when Rory's like, "I'm a nurse, you should have told me." And is he psychic?
Yeah.
I don't remember him finding out. If he did, like, is he going to remember everything with what's going on? I guess that's
just a case of he's been told off screen.
Yeah.
I think Ambrose finds out about the green thing, doesn't she?
Yeah.
First, and then I guess
that's why it
just then becomes common knowledge. Yeah, which I guess then off screen when we're looking at everyone else, he's like, "I killed her because dad's dead."
Yeah. Yeah. That.
I get what you mean.
It was off screen.
But at the same time, what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
It's an alien virus that's infecting him.
Yeah.
What you can do? Give him some paracetamol and go, "Well, best I can do."
Good luck.
But yeah.
So yeah, that felt a bit weird. And then as much as I like Malekith, they have that moment where he's like, "I never meant to harm your child." And they're like, "Okay, we're good." Like, you dissected that man. You cut him open.
He has a scar for life.
He's absolutely fine with it. He has nothing to say to you.
That's fair,
like, "Oh, well, I didn't harm your child though, even though I cut you in half."
Yeah. I just wanted to study them.
Okay, cool. You must be a good person then.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, they kind of, because you do kind of feel sad when he's then killed, but I'm like, you kind of deserve it. I think they do kind of try and redeem him maybe when they shouldn't have. But that moment in particular felt very weird. Like, you were talking to a man who dissected, and you're like, he's just fine now. So that felt a bit strange. And then Tony and Ambrose doing what they did with like the drill and stuff to protect Elliot, even though Elliot was down there, and they literally started all the gunfire and stuff going on. He could have easily been caught in that crossfire because of them trying to protect him. Like, think it through for 5 seconds, you fools.
Yeah.
So that was weird. And then also when they revealed that Alea was dead, Aldane doesn't say a word until they're out of there and into like the bit where they talk about the gas and stuff, and then he's like, "Oh, I can help you." I just wish we'd seen a bit more of Aldane's point of view. Then it feels weird that he doesn't get a single line or a word in about that whole situation, and it just isn't brought up again with him.
Yeah.
So I can buy that he still thinks there is good to them, obviously, but there wasn't anything kind of mentioned about that. It felt a bit inconsequential, that big reveal in the end, because Restak already hated them and wanted to kill them.
Yep.
So Alea dying,
gave fuel for the fire.
Yeah, basically did nothing to change her motivation. It ultimately didn't change anything really.
Just meant the axe didn't have to play two roles.
Yeah, basically. And she got a cool scar.
Yes.
But yeah, so I think it's kind of a shame that they didn't do anything with him. It's a good moment for his character to develop or change a bit or maybe question something, but they just don't take it and he's just still on the side anyway. I think that was a bit of maybe a missed opportunity, but again, maybe something was cut out. There's a lot of stuff kind of scrapped, I think, from this one. So yeah, there's just a lot of odd character moments for me in that one.
My favourite bit of that scene is when Tony walks in with the body and the doctor goes, "Something's wrong." I'm like, obviously, he's carrying something. It looks like a dead body.
You genius.
It would be like fair enough if Tony came in after he said something's wrong. Yeah. But it doesn't cut. You see him coming around the corner before.
There were a few of those kind of moments in this one. I can't remember what they were, but I do remember thinking like, "Oh, really, Amy? Is that right?"
Yeah. But again, I don't want to bash on the script too much because.
I mean, it's fine because every TV show will have elements of it.
It does have, but it's one that stands out. That and Mo is the two that stand out. Especially because they come in like, "Oh, Amy, Mo." And then
I can't believe that's not mean.
Oh, I don't know. No. So that's fair. My second negative is I've put the toxic fumigation get out clause.
Right.
I know you need a resolution for it, but it just feels very much like that's how do we get out of this? I know, let's just have this thing that will kill everyone.
Yeah, I think it does make sense that they would have that, and I guess there's been no reason for them to mention it until that moment, but it still kind of feels like, oh well, there must be 10 minutes of the episode left.
Yeah, I mean, you could have something like, I don't know, say have one of them be like, we've been attacked previously by dinosaurs, by giant insects or whatever, and we've had this defense mechanism. I don't know. You could do something maybe.
Or maybe like they mentioned the reason they haven't awoken the whole army yet, and it's just a couple of them, is because they're scared of like any potential gases or something.
Just say something like last time we awoke.
Yeah.
There was this issue. And we had to fumigate the place, and we've been asleep since. I don't know. Maybe that's too boring and wordy, but it does feel like it's like I know. Let's install this thing that will kill us in our own base.
It's very James Bond film prior to Daniel Craig and stuff, where he's in this tricky situation and suddenly he has this gadget that they've never set up or he's never had before to get him out of this situation perfectly. It does kind of feel like that.
Yeah, it needs to, and then again, maybe there's something you can do there with Ambrose sacrificing herself to lure the Silurians away from where they are. Maybe there's something there you could have instead, because that would probably be at least a little bit better, because then she effectively redeems herself. Her husband and son live.
There's a clear consequence rather than just. Luckily,
she can just go off screen, and you just think she's off screen. And maybe another episode, I don't know, but I just think it just comes out of nowhere. It's very much like a this is available to us now. It's like, oh, that would have been useful probably earlier. And then it's also you've got the whole issue of there's a fumigation, then the tunnels are going to collapse. So is that the whole base is just leveled? I don't.
Yeah.
Or is it just now all the rooms are cut off from each? Either way, you're effectively trapping them underground with no way out.
Yeah.
Really. So I don't really understand sort of the science behind how that works. But that's less of an issue, I think, because that makes more sense because of the gravity pockets they talk about, oxygen pockets, whatever, and the drill. That's all set up fine.
Yeah.
But the toxic fumigation one is not set up. The only toxic gas sort of thing we get is the gun.
Yeah.
And then even when Rastak goes and kills Rory, the doctor's like, oh, she must have been got by the gas. I'm like, why weren't you got by the gas then? She was in the same place as you.
It was like,
What? Got by the gas?
She must have been poisoned. She's crawling on the floor. Do you think, Amy? She's been bloody poisoned.
But yeah, that's it. But then I'm like, so why weren't you? You're in the same place. I don't know. I don't know. There's not. It's not explained very well. It could only be that certain areas were fumigated. I don't know.
I think that is.
But it's not very clear because we see the gas rumble over all the frozen soldiers. But I don't know. It's not, for me. It's not too clear.
Yeah.
Why A, why it exists, and B, why Rastak is crawling after them after getting poisoned, and the Doctor, Amy, Rory are not poisoned.
Yeah.
Maybe just a line saying, "Oh, it won't impact us because we have different blah blah blah." I don't know.
Yeah.
But
they only affect Silurians.
Yeah, maybe there might be something in there that I might miss, but that's the kind of line that you would need.
But then they wouldn't need to be running away from.
Yeah, and then at the same time, why are you going to have a self-defense mechanism in your own base that kills your own people?
Yeah,
that's the other thing that doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's kind of a big nitpick, but it's something that I can be like, fine, you need to put in the episode, whatever. So yeah, what's your second negative?
Yeah. I like what they do with all the cracking time stuff and everything. I do think it feels a bit forced in. Like it's just they're running back and it's suddenly there.
Oh crap! Yeah.
It feels like Fugitive of the Jadoon mid-episode twist. And like, this is like a completely different story.
Yeah, I think
I
would depend Fugitive of the Jadoon here because Fugitive of the Jadoon here because I think at least that's like mid-episode where it's still got enough setup and it carries on the story. Whereas this one is very much onto the end.
Yeah, this is like story arc. Yeah. I mean, I know Fugitive of the Jadoon was also story arc, but they had more of the episode left to do more with that twist. Yeah. But this is like the last 10 minutes, and I think it's fine as it is. It's a shame. I think the Angel 2-parter incorporates it a lot better, and it feels more natural and organic when that shows up, and it actually ties into what the Weeping Angels are doing there and how they behave. Whereas this doesn't impact the Silurians in the slightest.
Yeah, you could have used the crack instead of the toxic fumigation.
Yeah, something like that.
Then that would be too similar probably to the Angels, which is the other issue.
Yeah, probably. So I do think it's just I don't know how they would do it differently, and I think it's fine as it is. But just in comparison to how it's been used in previous episodes that have featured it quite significantly, I do think this one stands out a little bit. Like, oh wow, this is this feels very much like you had to include this in the episode. And of course, the Angel 2-parter was written by Stephen Moffat, who is planning all of that anyway. So of course he can integrate that better, because Christian probably doesn't know exactly where Moffat's going with all that stuff. So it is what it is. I needed negatives essentially, but I do feel like it feels a bit more forced into the story. Maybe there was a workaround, like you said, that could have been what interrupts the discussions or something. Maybe there was hope, and then Kraken Town has other ideas and that adds more weight to that. Maybe. But again, it is what it is.
My sort of third negative sort of links into that is that I know Rory is dead by that point, so it doesn't matter what happens to him. But how come the Doctor can reach into the crack in the light and pull something out and be fine? Maybe it's something around he needs to be allowed to the time.
Because it's like little strands that come out after Rory. Yeah, so I wonder if he I don't know, summons them, or they're like Lord to him.
It was
or
chasing
because
him and then came after him.
He's so intrinsically linked to what causes it. Maybe it's not going to affect him.
But then it's like also like, don't touch the light. When Roy's already been getting got, it's like don't touch the light. But Amy's been stood in that light the same amount as you have.
Yeah.
This whole time, but she's not being set because obviously they did a very good job in the Angel 2-parter of not showing you how the crack got you.
Yeah.
So I think they sort of got into this situation and went, oh shit, how are we gonna get
close range? How do we show this?
But I think it was a mistake to have the Doctor. It was good, but to have the Doctor reach in and grab something and be fine, and then for it to then take Rory, I think it doesn't. What's the difference there? Why? Maybe it is because the Doctor's too late. Maybe there's going to be a line in the final finale that sort of says it.
Might even be,
but I think there needs to be a reason why it lets him reach in to this explosion and take something out and then just be fine and leave. Because you can argue that Rory's linked with the finale as well. Maybe again, who knows? But maybe the crack needs to take that Rory away so that the other Rory can come in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Rather than have two Rorys in the finale, but that's not explained. I think there just needs to be a reason why the crack doesn't take the Doctor when he reaches in.
Yeah.
Other than for plot.
Yeah.
But because Rory's already dead, you don't need to have him taken by the crack. Really.
Yeah.
other than to have Amy forget. You could just have him go, and then the Doctor spends the next couple of episodes trying to make her.
Because in like the grand scheme of things, you know, it's the Time Lords on the other side who want the Doctor to answer the question and stuff, so they don't want to just suck him in. But at this point,
it's an explosion.
It's just an explosion.
I think because he reaches in to. Yeah. And so it's obviously not Gallifrey on the other side.
Yeah.
Unless there's just like Time Lords there going, oh, here he is. Yeah. Give him a bit of the TARDIS. There you go, bye.
Because it's amazing that he managed to grab something in there.
Well, that's it.
I would love just like over POV with you. Just like this is a Time Lord, and then like
with the big headdress. Go,
that'd be so good.
Quick, get it! And it just comes in.
But again, that's a revelation that comes like 2 years after. So at this point, I don't think it's very well justified, other than plot and because he's the main character.
Because then even in when it is justified,
we'll have to.
Clara's face is like covered in the light. When she's
exactly. Yeah, I can't remember how they explain Rory coming back properly. Anyway,
I think there is definitely a line about the Autons being.
It's part of the trap, isn't it?
Yeah.
They use him.
But and he needs to be there to get them there to.
Yeah, there's definitely at this point in time, whether or not they fix it or not in the future, then you retroactively be like, okay, this makes sense. But at this point in time,
it does make sense.
It is inconsistent.
There needs to be reason. But I mean that's more of a little nitpick because it's not one of the things I'm like, oh no, because it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's just if you're gonna make a big point of don't be in the light, it will take you, and then literally reach into the light and be like that close to it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. But so what's your final main negative?
Yes. Again, it's fine as is, but I kind of need negatives. But I do kind of wish maybe there was more made of Tony and Nazreen staying behind. Like his goodbye, with all of them. Very, very quick. He doesn't even say goodbye to Mo. Bye, so long, I guess.
He didn't like him really.
He absolutely hated him. So I don't know. I wish there was more to that, and particularly with Nazreen being like, I'm going to stay as well. This is what my life's work's been. I'm like, do you have family who are going to be affected by this? Like,
she needs a line there that says, "I've got no one up for me." I've got no one.
It would have been easy to just say like.
I was expecting that when I was watching. I was like, "Are you gonna no?" Oh, okay.
So I just wish maybe there was a bit more to that moment.
Yeah.
But again, there might have been, and they cut it out because they needed to get this episode down to time. Because it seems like this one really overran. So again, I do wish maybe a bit more time was given to that scene when they say goodbye. But it's fine as is. But again, it's one of those moments. As much as I like the balance of the characters in this one, and that is a good moment for both of them, because it's a good resolution to their arc in this story, because obviously they kind of have feelings with each other and stuff anyway. Makes sense they'd stay behind. Yeah. But I also kind of wish maybe a bit more was done with that.
Especially with Amy coming in like, come on, let's go, and just brushing them away. It's like, oh, what? She's staying. But I think that's fair enough.
No.
I think you could, if you wanted to really nitpick, you could argue that not enough time spent between Nazreen and Tony anyway, to sort of establish their romantic relationship at least.
Yeah.
Because you only really see them as co-workers. They hug right at the start, but that's more in celebration of doing the thing rather than.
So they do have a line where they're very aware that they have liked each other for a while, but maybe they could have spent a bit more time.
Yeah, just a little bit, but again, maybe that's more of an issue of the cast size, not being whatever.
And you're never going to see them again.
Yeah, that's fair. My sort of additional positive is I thought the start was a little bit meandering. I think it was mainly because we had 3 different groups of people to sort of follow like right away. So it's like, I don't really care that you're up here, looking at junk in your church. I wanted to be down the Silurians.
Yeah.
And then I think it really does pick up more once everyone's down. It really picks up speed there. That's my only that's my only additional one is just.
It really does feel like they can't kill a Leia fast enough.
Yeah.
It almost feels like she should have just died.
Should have been the cliffhanger, killing her. And then also, this isn't a negative, but who gets killed by a taser? It's a taser. It's not even like a. It's not even like a police taser. Well, that's true. Yeah, maybe that's what.
And multiple times
as
well.
Yeah. Well,
just stopped her heart or something.
Yeah. She's still alive.
She's absolutely fine.
Yeah, and then she got fumigated anyway.
She woke up and was like, "Oh, I'm alive."
Baby.
You son of a.
But there's all sorts of arguments. Maybe that they've been asleep for however many years. They don't know how to look after electricity. But in this whole big technological city with all this stuff, you can't really make that argument. I don't think.
Although we also have that, and we would probably die if we got electrocuted.
I mean, maybe, but the whole point of tasers is to stun rather than kill, isn't it? I don't know the statistics around taser deaths.
Ask the police.
But they don't use tasers. But I think
they always use them when they don't need to.
Yeah. But the tasers, I think, were more for stunning than for, and this is not even like a police level taser. It's obviously one that she has herself, so it won't be as powerful as a military unit.
Well, we don't know how Silurians' bodies are.
No, that's also true. I mean, I'm sure I've got a visual dictionary somewhere that will tell me.
Very susceptible to electricity.
To tasers, maybe.
Fatal doses of electricity.
Yeah. So, any other negatives?
That's kind of it, really. But,
fair enough. Fairly average episode. Well, you've hinted at them enough. The good facts. What are they?
I've got some, and I printed them off because I was in person this time. There you go. Spoilers.
Just freeze it now.
I'm literally about to go. Okay. I mean, a lot of this is just this was cut. This was cut. But, a cut piece of dialogue from the scene where the Doctor and Nazreen are led into the court hall includes Nazreen stating that she doesn't want to be executed down here. The Doctor agrees, stating the last time I was executed, it really put a blight on the day. While this was cut from the final episode, it did feature in the clip shown in the corresponding Doctor Who Confidential. So that would have confused people, maybe. If
that'll be in the Target novel.
It'll be in the Target novel when Nazreen's revealed to be a serial killer.
That's true, yeah.
That's why she has no one. She killed them all.
She killed everyone.
My God!
She's wanted by 10 federal governments.
It makes so much sense. That is the perfect getaway plan. The real Nazreen's dead. That's just impossible.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Can't believe that actually kind of fits. Anyway, this is the first episode since the End of Time Part 1 to feature narration. Other stories that feature include Dead the Assassin, the TV movie, Army of Ghosts, and The Family of Blood.
Yay, the TV movie!
Yes! The original script didn't actually feature the narration. It was added by Stephen Moffat's suggestion. It was just nothing.
Yes.
The Doctor holds the Sonic vertically upright to disarm Silurians, resembling how the device was originally used in the classic series. The last time it was used this way was in Utopia, where the Doctor locks the TARDIS when the Master takes off. Matt Smith was wary about the Sonic being conceived as a weapon, so didn't want to point it directly at the Silurian guns. So that's why he did
Even though saying, I've got a weapon!
Unfortunately, future directors will force him to do it anyway, so it's kind of a shame that they don't stick to that, but never mind. The Silurian actors wore masks to help save time and money!
No way!
So they didn't require as much time and makeup, because they weren't masks in the classic series, it was a whole ass costume. It was a lot.
Sure was a costume.
If that was a costume. The previous Silurians also featured a third eye. This was omitted from their redesign as Stephen Moffat feared it would draw comparisons to Davros. This is also why they have guns instead of the third eye, because they shot lasers at the third eye, so they just got guns instead. But I like the guns. Sue me. A scene was cut for time where Amy and Mo discovered the Silurians had kidnapped a selection of modern-day animals for dissection, including a dog owned by Tony years before. Very sad. God. So canonically, they did kill Tony's dog as well, but that doesn't give a blame Mannequin. A scene between Rory and Alea talking about faith was cut in editing, which would have foreshadowed Rory's fate at the end of the story. So maybe that would.
That's another. Sneaking in here, that was another thing, where the Doctor's like, spread it as legend, prophecy, or religion. I'm like, who does legends or prophecies anymore? It's religion maybe, but legends or prophecies? I was like, it's 2020, not 1020. What are you on about? So maybe that faith thing kind of
that's
might be a little bit
better.
A
holdover from that. And then finally, the Doctor asks for some celery, which is a reference to the Fifth Doctor wearing something on his lapel as a means to detect toxic gases, because it would turn purple if any were around. And they didn't reveal that until Peter Davison's final story. So I guess they finally just wanted people to be told.
I did make a note of the celery somewhere. Special shout out to Escape. Tony's Escape. Which
I don't know if that's just like Welsh dialect. It's hard for me to say.
Maybe.
So I know a lot of people do have, for some reason, Escape. A lot of people do have trouble saying that.
Really escapes their vocabulary.
Yeah, we did a play in school called The Toy Escape. So of course you say escape a lot, and so many people in that class said escape. No, but maybe mouths work differently. I find it hard to pronounce them.
Yes, I think that's fair.
Maybe it's just that.
But also, it's out for me.
It's going to stand out. People who don't say that.
Fair enough. For sort of additional notes, I've got 11's just a big germy boy when he's being decontaminated or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Don't take away my germs. They'll kill me."
Please.
Then I've got Mo. What a delivery.
Mo. I wonder how many
I'll say a discussion on sharing the planet. Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen again. As in, there's definitely not gonna be another plot point where they need to discuss having a shared planet.
That's what the follow-up story should be. The Silurians come back and they are
the
furious because the Zygons
are already there.
integrated.
That would be smart.
And there could be a war.
Yeah, between the Zygons and the Silurians. Like, that would be interesting.
And they hate the humans even more because, like, how come you made it work with them?
So maybe the Zygons and the humans have to work together to stop the Silurians.
I really want that story.
That would be cool. So Russell, if you're watching,
Russell, please make it happen.
Please do that.
Series 14 or 15 at this point. You probably planned Series 14.
That's true. Yeah. There's not too much else. Ambrose needs to stop. Please, Ambrose. You're terrible.
Ambrose, please.
Yeah, it's not really else. I can't really read my
my
own writing anymore. So
I have that same notebook, by the way.
Oh, nice. I can't read it. Oh, that's it. Time for some crack facts.
That was it. Yes.
Crack flashbacks. There are a few of those, but
that again lent into my people like, oh, the Silurians are back. I'm going to watch it this week. Like,
yeah, maybe they wanted to be like, hey, look, this has happened before. Go watch this if you.
Because it has been a few episodes since kind of that happened. You know. Yeah. Even then.
Yeah, that's fair. So before we talk about next week, out of 10, what are you rating Cold Blood?
Shouldn't have thrown this away. Oh yeah, 7.5 for me, which is I think basically the same as last week. Okay. So I did really enjoy this one, and I think I did enjoy it a little bit more. I also didn't quite feel like it's 8 worthy. So.
Mine is a 6, which is a bit better than last week. I think last week was 5.5.
Oh really? Wow, savage.
So, well, that's what I wrote, whether I told you that.
I'll have to go back and see.
But I've got either 5.5, but then I also wrote 6 over the top. So, okay. So look, if I said 5.5 last week...
Either way, we've both been pretty consistent with us. Between episodes.
Basically, this is 0.5 better than last week, I think. Yeah. So if I said 6 last week, it's 6.5. If I said 5.5 last week, it's 6. Okay. Let's say that.
Retroactively.
But yeah, I think it is better. I did enjoy this one more. Again, I think that's just there's more pace to it. There's a little bit of meandering at the start, but then it really kicks on. There's still a few issues, as we sort of mentioned with the scripts, some of the story points, some of the line delivery, obviously. But the main things work. You know, the Silurians work, the sharing the planet, the whole morality of it, and the Rory stuff again. That all kind of works. Yeah. There's just loads of issues that sort of leave questions needing to be answered. But yeah, that's it for Cold Blood in this 2-parter. We won't see the Silurians again. I mean, we'll see. The lady.
Vastra.
That's it. But I wouldn't say Vastra Narada. I was close, but obviously.
Vastra Narada.
Yeah, I was close. Thinking V is Vash something.
Yeah.
Madame Vastra comes in. Series 7.
6.
Oh yeah, middle of Series 6. Good Man Goes to War. That's the next time we'll see Silurians. But I don't think they've had an episode dedicated to them. They haven't, have they?
No.
Since this.
Malekith's in Wedding of River Song for a bit with Winston Churchill, and they get the same actor back for Dinosaurs on the Spaceship for like a cameo, but they haven't had like a Silurian story again.
No, yeah, they've had cameos in other episodes, but there's not been a story. Yeah, that's alright. I thought so. I'd like to see him back. I mean, obviously
it's been 12 years.
So. Yeah, we have this issue. We had this issue with the Sea Devils as well, and if you watch the classic Who episodes with them in as well, there's only really one story they've been telling with these. But so I think they need
with the Zygons.
With the Zygon idea,
I think there's a story there. But could be sadly, I don't think they'll be watching this.
No, unfortunately, we'll have to
hear us.
Yeah, come on, please. We'll tweet. We're on his Instagram. We'll DM him. I'm
please
sure
watch this.
Yeah. So next week is Vincent and the Doctor.
Never heard of it.
A very, 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 very highly regarded episode, I think. What are your memories of it?
Well, I think I watched this as part of the lockdown rewatch thing.
Oh yeah.
So I still, remember quite a bit.
Still 2 years.
Still 2 years ago. Yes, because time is fleeting and we're all doomed. But yeah, I think out of everything, it's probably the closest gap when I've rewatched it for this to when I've watched the episode before. I don't tend to rewatch a lot of stuff. So yeah, I think it's well regarded for very good reason. I like that they really lean into like the mental health exploration of Vincent and everything that kind of goes on with him. Which I think they then did again in Can You Hear Me, a bit about the mental health stuff. Years and years later, this is kind of the first time Doctor Who properly delves into that properly, to an extent that there is like a helpline at the end of the episode for the first time in Doctor Who history after this one when that first aired. But yeah, obviously everyone's going to talk about that scene in the gallery, and for good reason, because it is iconic and very emotional, and it still hits very hard no matter how many times you watch it. Really got me the last time as well. The whole kind of ending sequence, even when they then drop him back off and Amy goes back and he still died and everything. So good. Bill Nye's little cameos in that were really fun. There is, a good chunk of episode before that, which I think, maybe doesn't stand to time as much. So maybe it's not as engaging. Personally, I still enjoyed it, but I am looking forward to seeing what I feel about that at this point, because there is still, a good chunk of the episode before that scene, which is worth all the praise. And even if the episode was terrible before it, that scene would still deserve all the praise. But Tony Curran is fantastic as Vincent Van Gogh in this. And yeah, I'm really excited to revisit this one, because it's not just a popular episode of this season. Matt Smith here as a whole, it's going to be a standout. I believe it's one of Stephen Moffat's favourites. I think this is Matt Smith's favourite episode that he did, and I think for good reason. So I am looking forward to seeing how it stacks up. I am ready to cry, and yeah, I think I appreciate it even more now than I did when it first aired. I think I enjoyed it. I think when it first aired, that was like invisible monster. But now it's a metaphor for depression and stuff that you can't see and everything like that. I think it really ages very well as you get older, I think, and mental health becomes much more of a focus, and it's becoming more and more of an important thing in discussions in society nowadays anyway. So I think this episode ages better and better each year, I would say. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out and seeing how much, particularly the first half an hour stacks up compared to the last 15 minutes, which I know is great.
Yeah, I think that's my big test for this one. Is obviously the last scenes are excellent. Probably some of the best in the show. How good is the episode before it? Yeah, I think is going to be the real test. I remember liking it. I remember enjoying it when I watched. I haven't seen it in a while, I don't think. But obviously that scene gets banded around Twitter, probably once a month.
Oh yeah.
So I've seen that scene fairly often.
The Doctor Who Facebook team posts that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Every Vincent Van Gogh birthday.
And I always share.
I always forget that Bill Nye is in this. He has such a small role that's so not underused, but so it adds the gravitas, I think, to the scene that it might need. Because you're like, how do they get Bill Nye? Maybe they can only have him for one day, and so they.
Well, I haven't looked up fun facts yet, but I did just notice anyway. He only agreed to do it if he was uncredited.
Interesting. Even though you'd know who he is.
Even though you know who I am.
I don't want this on my resume.
But obviously, it was probably kind of a surprise when he showed up in the next time trailer.
That's true. Yeah.
This episode. Oh, hang on, that's Bill Nye.
Bill Nye in the whole episode? No, he's in 2 scenes.
No.
But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think we'll see what the residual is from Amy's Rory going. Rory seeing how that plays.
Yes, I do remember a few instances of that.
I don't know if this is the one about the wedding ring where she's like, "Oh, are you going to propose soon?" I want to say this is this episode.
I think that's the end of the
Amy's not. Well, maybe, but Amy's not really in the lodger as much, so I don't know how much that plays into it. We will see.
Either way, I remember scenes of Vincent kind of realizing that Amy's really sad and she doesn't know why.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm not the marrying kind," and they say goodbye, and you're like,
"Oh." But yeah, excellent stuff. I'm really looking forward to it, even if it will make me sad at the end. But that is it for this week. We should hopefully be back next week, as long as there's no external issues, as is last time. And we may be back sooner, depending what news might come out. We're getting closer and closer to the centenary.
Yeah, mere months away soon.
Gotta hope that there'll be a trailer out at some point. I think we had Flux trailers and news by this point last year, didn't we?
We must, we've got a trailer for Flux at Comic Con.
It came around Comic Con, yeah. So we must be getting something soon because it's coming out around the same time in October, isn't it? If not earlier than Flux.
And they got the Day of the Doctor's title 2 months before it aired.
Yeah. So I'll take a title. If the title's all we can get within the next couple of weeks, that's fine.
Yeah,
but I'd love a title and maybe another trailer, just sort of bump up the thing. Because it's only one episode, so you can't really do loads of trailers and clips and stuff as you would do if it's like a film.
Yeah.
But then again, it is like an hour and a half long, isn't it?
Apparently, yeah.
So that's like a film length, so you could argue, but who knows? We will see what happens. If there is Doctor Who news between now and next week, we'll be back for it. If not, we will be back next week with Vincent and the Doctor. Bye.
Bye.